This week in Iowa, we talk to Republican leadership about the 2019 session and get the Democrat side of the story on how things went, plus an interview with one of the leaders of medical marijuana in Iowa and a discussion about the Safe at Home program for Iowans in need. Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us here on This Week in Iowa. I'm Sabrina Ahmed, and we are starting off our show with a recap to the legislative session. Congratulations to the Senate President, Charles Schneider. You finished a week early.
We did.
How do you think it went? Give me just kind of your overall feelings of it all, your impressions.
Well, overall, we think it was a really successful session. You know, we started out the year with a few priorities that I think people on both sides of the aisle wanted to do something about. One of them is the skilled labor shortage that we have in our state. It hinders economic growth, and the reality is we need to train more people with higher skills so they can fit the jobs of today. So we allocated a multi-million-dollar investment to the governor's Future Ready Iowa program to help give them those skills. We all wanted to help out rural Iowa. That's an area that isn't growing as quickly as the rest of the state. In some places, it's not growing at all. So we made a $30 million investment in the governor's Empower Rural Iowa initiative, which helps provide funding for rural workforce housing and broadband connectivity. And we also wanted to do something about children's mental health. We just don't, prior to this session, we didn't have a framework set up for that. And just on Tuesday, the governor signed a bill that we passed to set up that infrastructure for children's mental health. And on top of that, we passed a bill that provides more transparency to people to figure out how their property taxes are calculated. We improved our state's medical cannabis law. And we also made a multi-million-dollar investment in K-12 education, $89 million in new funding, and we extended the SAVE sales tax penny that goes towards school infrastructure and also property tax relief. So, yeah, we think it was a good, productive session.
And the list goes on. Now, with no surprise, I have a few follow-ups to some of the topics that you brought up there. So let's first start with the children's mental health program. Of course, the infrastructure is now there, but the funding, the long-term funding to ensure that it can last is not. What do you think is the next step? And
well, we do have to address how we're going to fund it. And that's a larger discussion about funding of the mental health system altogether. Right now, mental health is funded through property taxes, which probably made sense at the time that our mental health system was set up because every county had some kind of mental health institution within the county. But that's not the case anymore. It doesn't fit today's reality. And if we could find a way to shift that funding from property tax dollars to general fund dollars, then that I think would provide more stability for the counties that make up the different mental health regions that we have right now. And it also would provide immediate property tax relief for Iowans because it would be taking an entire levy off of their statement.
Another bill that passed this year is sports betting. Was that a priority for you?
Well, it wasn't, one of my top priorities, but it's a bill that I think was good that we passed. The rationale for the bill came about because the U.S. Supreme Court last year, early in 2018, made a ruling that said every state can regulate sports wagering. It wasn't just limited to Nevada, and I think one other state had it. So the reality is sports wagering is going on in Iowa right now, and it's just happening on a black market with offshore entities to which people can't have any real legal recourse. So what our bill does is put in place a regulatory structure for sports wagering. It taxes that activity, and importantly too, it also provides funding for gambling treatment, addiction treatment, because gambling does have social costs that come with it. So overall, I think it's a good bill, and we'll see if the governor signs it.
So there were a few controversial measures that were added on to the Health and Human Services budget at the very end of the session. One, removing sex education funding from Planned Parenthood, and the other not allowing Medicaid dollars to be used basically for transgender surgeries. Why add those in the last minutes?
Well, there are a lot of people in our caucus and in the House Republican caucus too who just don't believe taxpayer dollars should go to entities that provide abortions. And there are a lot of entities that do provide sex ed training throughout the state already, so that's a need that can still be filled. The other issue was added because the state Supreme Court issued a ruling in early March stating that the state's Medicaid program had to cover surgery for gender reassignment. And that's something that had not been included before. That funding had not been included before. After that ruling came out, we were informed that there would be a potential $20 million impact on the state budget. And normally when you've got something that has that much of an impact, there would be discussion about it through the legislative process. When the ruling came out, it was after the deadline for filing individual bills had passed, so it was too late to fully vet through the legislative process. So this provision was inserted in the budget bill to effectively revert things back to the way they were before the Supreme Court decision, but also leave the door open for the state to make a decision to fund gender reassignment surgeries in the future. And that's something I think we should take a look at next session when we have an opportunity to more thoroughly vet legislation and discuss the impact of it, not only on the budget, but in terms of people's lives as well.
I wish we had more time. Senator Charles Schneider, as always, we really appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Short break and we speak to the Democrats up next.
Yeah, Local 5 on your side means answers to your questions.
And we're just doing the stories that the community wants us to do, to empower you with something as a viewer that you can move forward with.
What drives these people to go above and beyond and be exceptional Iowans? That's stuff we can all use in our own lives.
To be able to be that line of connection for people is huge to them, and they can reach out to Local 5, and they're going to get answers.
We are Iowa, and it's everything to me.
Hi, I'm Jerry Holub from Holub Greenhouses, Des Moines' newest greenhouse, just south of Charles Gabus Ford. Holub grown flowers since 1926. Quality you can see. Fresh shipments, grown weekly in Ames, Iowa. We have a great selection of flowering annuals, herbs, vegetable plants, perennials, and beautiful hanging baskets. Thousands to choose from. Go where the plants grow, just south of Charles Gabus Ford in Des Moines.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain or knee pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace or knee brace covered by Medicare at little to absolutely no cost to you. Will you qualify for a Medicare-covered back brace or knee brace? There's only one way to find out.
Call the Back and Knee Brace Center at 1-800-280-4260.
This is Andrew Lloyd Webber's School of Rock, the award-winning new musical based on the hit comedy movie. With a rocking band of kids playing live at every show.
Get your tickets today at dmpa.org. From the capital city, you're watching This Week in Iowa with Sabrina Ahmed, getting to the heart of what's happening in Iowa politics.
Welcome back, everyone. We are moving now to the Democratic side of the conversation, and we are joined now by Senate Minority Leader Janet Peterson. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, happy to.
Okay, so you just heard our conversation with Senator Schneider about his impressions of the 2019 legislative session. Give me your impressions.
Well, we started out the session hoping we'd be able to work together on a number of initiatives, and I do think we were able to accomplish a couple of really good pieces of legislation, in particular the children's mental health piece. We were able to do some advancements for school infrastructure, but once again we saw small incremental funding assistance to our schools. We still have our huge Medicaid privatization mess, which is getting even to become a bigger mess with United Healthcare leaving, and not a lot of work done to revitalize our small towns and rural communities.
So what was your reaction when you heard that Iowa and Iowa State could likely be increasing their tuition by as much as 4% because of the lack of funding? Or they got a funding increase, but they didn't get as much funding as they said they needed.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen this over and over as Republicans have put together their budgets. They're not giving schools the resources they need to keep up with the funding increases, and it's coming out of the pocketbooks of Iowans who are having to pay more in tuition costs, schools that are losing teachers and programming, and it's causing problems around the state.
Another issue that we talked to Senator Schneider about was those last two kind of provisions with Planned Parenthood funding and transgender reassignment surgery that were tacked on to the HHS budget at the very last minute. Were you expecting those amendments?
No, that was really, it was a double barrel amendment, which meant that Democrats could not introduce our own amendments to fix a very large budget that Iowans count on for everything from health care to mental health services. The mean-spirited attack on civil rights on the Medicaid budget, I think, is just horrible. I know that Senator Schneider quoted a $20 million figure. That's completely made up. I don't know where he's coming from with that number. It was an attack on Planned Parenthood. We saw them do the same thing, attacking Planned Parenthood with the family planning bill, which took away family planning from about 70, brought the program down by about 70%. And we have Iowans counting on our state to provide teen pregnancy prevention programs, and without Planned Parenthood being able to participate, or University of Iowa hospitals and clinics and Unity Point, that definitely cuts back the number of providers that can give kids that information that they need.
Now, speaking of family planning, there was a measure put forth by the governor to allow birth control to be over the counter, but it wasn't able to make it through the legislature. Why do you think that is?
Well, it did make it through the Iowa Senate, but it didn't make it through the House. I know they had said they were concerned about women not being able to see providers, but actually when you look at what they did to women when they first took over, they banned thousands of women from going to Planned Parenthood, Unity Point, and University of Iowa hospitals and clinics for their family planning. So we're seeing across the state a real kind of desert of opportunity for people to get their reproductive health care. And we've also seen maternal mortality more than double in the less than 3 years.
Now, that was one issue that the governor put forth that didn't pass, also felon voting rights, as well as a couple other things that she had really championed. What was your reaction knowing that the Republicans are in the majority in the House and the Senate and have the governor's office, but still weren't able to get some of those pieces of legislation passed? Yeah, well, Democrats are really excited about the governor saying that she wanted to expand voting rights for felons. Well, we know that she can do that with her own executive order. She wanted to see the legislature take a step to put it in the Constitution. Democrats were fully behind that. We believe we should have automatic voter registration and expand voter rights. But that bill got killed in committee, in the Judiciary Committee in the Senate, or that constitutional amendment got killed. What are the next steps for Democrats moving on to the next election cycle? We have just about a minute left. Still being in the minority, not having the governor's office, what would you like to see happen? Well, of course, I'd like a bigger team, because Democrats have a lot of heart, and we would like to have more power up at the State House to get health care back in check for Iowans. We know that we're losing rural hospital services, and nursing homes are all, the infrastructure of our healthcare system is at risk under Medicaid privatization. So our senators will be back working in their districts, and hopefully in 2020 we'll be prepared to have a much bigger team at the State House. Senator Janet Peterson, we appreciate you being here. Nice to see you. We'll take a short break and be right back.
Adventureland Park is now open weekends. Enjoy an entire summer of fun with a season pass including Adventure Bay and the Phoenix. Our new spinning roller coaster coming in June. Season passes are only $140 until May 31st. Get yours today on our website at adventurelandresort.com. Come on over to Adventureland. You're gonna love it at
The world's first 6-function multi-pro tailgate, available only on the next generation GMC Sierra. During GMC's Truck Month, get 0% financing on most GMC Sierra and Canyon models, or get over $9,500 total value on this next generation Sierra SLT when you finance through GM Financial. GMC, Truck Month like a pro.
We want to make one lucky mom very happy this Mother's Day. So we're offering a We Are Iowa Mother's Day giveaway $300 prize package. To enter, go to weareiowa.com/contest and fill out the online entry form. One winner will receive a $100 gift certificate to Sweet Dreams Bedrooms and Stuff for Kids, a $100 gift card from G&L Clothing. Your size, your style, they've got it all. Plus a $100 bowling package at Warrior Lanes. Strike up some fun and have a happy Mother's Day from We Are Iowa.
A second case of measles has been confirmed in Iowa. Local 5 was the first station to report this measles case.
Learn of breaking news first with alerts on the We Are Iowa app.
A puppy is recovering this morning after being stabbed and left to die in a dumpster in Ames.
You'll never wonder if a story is national or local.
An ISU grad student is accused of sexually assaulting a woman.
Receive important local breaking news alerts first from Local 5. Download the We Are Iowa app to your phone today. You're watching This Week in Iowa, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Iowa.
Welcome back, everyone. We are joined now by Lucas Nelson, who is with MedFarm Iowa, talking about the passage of legislation to make some changes to the medical marijuana program in our state. It's House File 732. It's not been signed by the governor yet. But it did pass both chambers. So, Lucas, tell us, there are 3 main things that this legislation does. Just briefly describe each of those 3 things.
Yeah, so what this legislation does is really improve the program for patients. It allows nurses and PAs to certify conditions, really going to help access in rural Iowa especially. It removes the 3% formulation cap. That's going to allow our patients to receive new forms of medicine and also make it easier for them to consume their medicine. And then finally, it sets a 25-gram purchase limit on THC. So that's going to help make sure that every patient can still get the dose they need, but also help us control diversion and abuse and that sort of thing.
Okay, so let's kind of break down each of those.
Of course.
And then there's also this change in definition of pain that I'd like to talk about as well. So let's start with this removing the 3% THC cap, but still having this 25-gram limit. So what does that mean?
So right now, because the products are capped in their formulation, it means that for patients to get to their doses, especially those that are maybe taking a little bit higher dose of THC, those suffering from cancer, pain, ALS, those sorts of conditions, it's more difficult. It costs them more, requires them to take more capsules or more drops of tincture. And we've gotten rid of that, and we've replaced it instead with a cap on how much THC someone can buy. That's how most other states would do it. That's the better way, we think, because it allows patients to get the medicine they need, but then helps prevent, the abuse of it by someone who maybe was after another, after something else.
So basically, it gets rid of all the filler, the expensive filler you were having to put into it.
Yes.
Okay, so. And it's easier for people to understand, too,
It should be, yes, we think so.
Okay, so 25 grams, how much is that?
So for most of our patients, that will cover all of the medicine they would need. In order to sort of exceed that cap, you'd be needing to take a little more than around 300 milligrams a day. We have a very, very small amount of patients who are doing that. So the best part about this 25-gram cap is that it really does make sure that all of the Iowans can get what they need.
Are there caps in other states?
There are. We're actually we will be the lowest in the country. There's a number of others that are in the 90-gram range over that same supply or even higher. Some states have no cap at all on how much can be purchased. But yet still, I think ours will serve most of our patients pretty well.
Now, the change from allowing nurse practitioners and PAs to certify conditions, that's pretty self-explanatory, as well as, so tell me about this definition of chronic pain or severe pain. It used to be intolerable pain?
Untreatable pain, yes, yes. That untreatable pain had a really difficult definition to understand. Multiple doctors coming to us, patients coming to us, to the Department of Public Health and saying, we don't understand how this operates, we don't know what it means. And changing to severe chronic pain, which matches one of the other definitions we have for cancer, it's going to be much more straightforward, much easier to understand, and easier for a doctor and a patient to decide, yes, I do or don't have severe chronic pain, and then would qualify qualify for the program.
What made the legislature make these changes this year?
You know, I think it's a number of different things. Certainly, they used a lot of the data that's been collected in other states and reviewed some of that. They looked at other programs, but most importantly, they listened to those patients, those constituents in their districts who came to them and said, look, this is working for me, but it's too expensive, or it's sort of working for me, but I know it could work better, and help, please. Help me, help us get a better program. I think more so than maybe on any other issue, it was absolutely true that making your voice heard made a big difference here.
Just real quick, do you think these changes will make this program more sustainable for you as a company?
Absolutely, I do.
Lucas Nelson, thank you very much for being
here.
Thank you. We appreciate it. Short break, everyone. We'll be right back.
We want to make one lucky mom very happy this Mother's Day, so we're offering a We Are Iowa Mother's Day giveaway $300 prize package. To enter, go to weareiowa.com/contest and fill out the online entry form. One winner will receive a $100 gift certificate to Sweet Dreams Bedrooms and Stuff for Kids, a $100 gift card from G&L Clothing. Your size, your style, they've got it all. Plus a $100 bowling package at Warrior Lanes. Strike up some fun and have a happy Mother's Day from We Are Iowa.
If you're over the age of 50 and considering buying an annuity in the next 60 days, I have some important news for you. Don't buy an annuity until you understand the pros and cons of annuities. A free book to help you maximize your retirement income from television host and three-time author Josh Melberg has been released. This book reveals little-known truths about annuity strategies in simple-to-understand terms. Grab a pen right now because we are about to offer you this free book that unlocks the 5 little-known secrets we believe baby boomers and seniors should know before buying an annuity.
Call 800-885-5757
now, and you'll receive a free copy of Josh Melberg's book, Next Gen Annuity Strategies Revealed. As a bonus, we'll also send you the #1 mistakes retirees are making with their investments today, and a free DVD on how you can get up to 33% more income in retirement.
Call 800-885-5757.
Again, that's
800-885-5757.
It takes years of hard work to reach an elite level. Every day, practicing and honing skills. In every challenge, staying focused on the goal. For Local 5, it's being the best at telling local stories that matter to you. We're honored to celebrate student athletes on and off of the field. And we're excited for what's to come in the 20th year of Friday Night Blitz here on Local 5. We are Iowa Sports.
You're watching This Week in Iowa, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Iowa.
Welcome back, everyone. We are joined now by Secretary of State Paul Pate, talking about not what we usually talk about. So we really appreciate you being here. The month of April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and Safe at Home is a program that's offered through your office. So to get us started, can you just talk to us about the issue of sexual assault, domestic violence, sex trafficking? How much of an issue is this in our state, our little old Iowa?
Well, unfortunately, it is a significant one. We all love Iowa. That's why we're here. And we think we have one of the best states to live in, safe, place to raise your children, go to school, etc. But we also have some of our challenges, and sexual assault and domestic violence is one of those. Last year alone, we had over 6,000 reports of violent acts, and we prosecuted successfully over 3,000. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, because a lot of these victims don't want to come forward and acknowledge that they're having this challenge.
So what can be done to help survivors or people who are in those situations?
That's part of what we tried to do in April, and we continue to do year-round. We want to bring attention to it, a spotlight, if you will. We want those folks to know who are trying to become survivors that there are programs out there available to them. Perhaps even their friends or family should know about it so they can help pass the word to them. I happen to be the promoter of the Safe at Home initiative that my office started, where people who are victims can come to us for address confidentiality. So the bad actor can't find you as easily. So public documents don't just lay out your home address for them to show up at. And voter registration is one of those. When you go to register to vote, you've got to put your address down. And it's public information. So through our Safe at Home program, that information is held confidential, and we instead give them a generic address that would put you right in the middle of Des Moines River, which is where I prefer the bad actors go. But it gives them a chance to resume their normal life, so that whether it's voting or whether it's dealing with any other legal business, they can use this special address that we've shared with them.
What was the catalyst to this? Did you hear from survivors of domestic and sexual violence, or how did this come about?
Well, during my 10 years as state senator, I worked a lot on victim crimes and tried to come up with plans to how we can help them better. And I'd heard about Safe at Home from other states. About 15 or 20 states were doing it, and when I was elected to this post, we started exploring it. And coincidentally, we had a state legislator who came to us and said, hey, I've got a constituent who's been a victim of her address information given out so the bad actor could find her. What can we do? And we got to work together, got the Safe at Home bill done. It was passed unanimously in both chambers.
What more can be done, and can it be legislated, or what needs to be done? Who needs to come together?
Sure. Well, I think we're doing some pretty significant things on the legislative side. I think it's about community support and making sure they have all the information. There's a lot of tools that are available to people who want to become survivors after this type of situation. So we just need to help them out and get that to them, and that's why the Safe at Home is one of the programs. But there are crisis centers around the state that are available to them. They will assist them at any level. They should reach out for that kind of help. We spend a lot of time doing shows like this and others so that people know about it, and should they need it, they can tap into it.
And you've also partnered with the Coalition Against Sexual Assault, CASA.
That's right.
What has that partnership been like?
Well, they're the lead. We are just a resource. The local groups like that are the ones who are the direct, on the front line, if you will, with these folks and helping them out. We are providing them one more tool, and we are not the counselors, so I always caution people, we're there just to help in our own way. So reaching to them is so crucial. We have right now over 550 people in our program alone, and a key thing is they represent 60 counties. So it's not just in urban areas. Sexual violence and domestic violence is in all counties.
Secretary Pate, we appreciate you being here. Short break, we'll be right back.
It's in our nature to explore the possibilities and embrace the unknown. We travel the same road, knowing the unexpected may occur. When you need us, we'll be there. If you're injured in a motorcycle accident, call 1-800-LAW-TIGERS, Iowa's motorcycle lawyers.
Happy Mother's Day! Actress Kristen Bell on the joys of motherhood.
This is Jordan. Jordan poops her pants.
You make it almost comfortable in an uncomfortable kind of way.
Thank you.
Blown away by this military mom.
You had the flu when you delivered?
Yeah. Kristen drops a life-changing surprise. Impress the moms you love with a Mother's Day spread.
Gotta do this breakfast in bed, 100%.
Good luck.
Happy Mother's Day, Mom.
Monday morning at 9.
On Local 5.
I am a nurse,
a firefighter, a college student,
a mother, and I am an American soldier.
I will always be ready
for every storm and disaster that threatens my community. I will always be there to protect my neighbors,
my family,
and my country.
We are the Army National Guard.
We are the Army National Guard.
We are the Army National Guard.
Visit nationalguard.com to learn more about part-time service.
They claim their daughter
Go away before I lose my marbles.
is ruining their lives.
She lies all the time about anything.
With accusations.
She said you threw her against the wall and choked her, did you?
No.
And lies.
She just kept repeating, I can't go back to Dad's house after everything that has happened. And I was like, what do you mean? What has happened?
She now claims that her father molested her.
Completely false.
Everyone thinks I'm lying.
New Dr. Phil.
Monday at 4 on Local 5.
Thanks for joining us here on This Week in Iowa. Thanks to all of our guests, and we'll continue to follow all of the bills and see if the governor signs them. We hope to see you again next Sunday.